taste. And keep off the goat, lest you get 10 years in jail.
A great week. If not, in the next hour or so, I will try to make it better. Tonight, we have the latest surrounding the Judicial Service Commission, among other top stories, but also Eric Omondi will be coming in a little bit later as the guest anchor. As you can see, he's already getting psyched up for the big task in some weird kind of way. Eric, please keep it quiet down there. He will be joining us in just a short while. Also, Willis the Word Master is on standby in Kisumu County with tonight's edition of Mind Your Language. Always a packed show for you. For now, let's take a look at the top stories tonight. Well, we begin here in Nairobi, where President Uhuru Kenyatta has, in the last few hours, suspended 6 members of the Judicial Service Commission and formed a tribunal to probe them. Former anti-corruption chief Aaron Ringera will head the tribunal that could recommend the removal of the commissioners. The move could cripple the JSC, which is now left with just 3 members. KTN's Linda Ogutu begins our coverage with this latest twist in the never-ending judiciary saga.
5 of the 9 commissioners voted in favor of asking the Chief Registrar of Judiciary to take compulsory leave during the 15 days when the investigations will be in process.
I have been true and faithful to the transformation agenda of the judiciary, and more importantly, to my values and integrity.
It began with an ugly public spat between the now sacked registrar and the Judicial Service Commission. And now it has come to this, a tribunal. Retired Justice Aaron Ringera, Jennifer Shamala, Ambrose Otieno Weda, and Mutua Kilaka. These are the faces of the new body appointed by President Uhuru Kenyatta that will now investigate the conduct of 6 members of the Judicial Service Commission. The 4-member tribunal that will be chaired by Justice Aaron Ringera is expected to investigate the conduct of Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, Reverend Dr. Samuel Kobia, Professor Christine Mango, Justice Mohamed Warsame, Emily Ominde, and Florence Mwangangi. And before then, the 6 stand suspended with immediate effect from exercising the functions of their offices, a move analysts say will cripple the 9-member commission. The tribunal is expected to investigate the alleged conduct of the Judicial Service Commission members and determine whether there are grounds for their removal from office. The 4-member tribunal will report on the facts and make its recommendations to the president. The move by the president comes just weeks after the National Assembly recommended the removal of the said members. The Judicial Service Commission has been in the limelight for several reasons, and the most recent one has been the manner in which it carried out the suspension and eventual sacking of Shulei. The former chief registrar has maintained that a sacking was unprocedural and in bad taste.
I can confirm to you that I have not been provided with any particulars forming the basis of the decision. Neither did the JSC give reasons for arriving at their decision.
It is that same tussle that saw the commission engage in a show of might with the Parliamentary Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs that sought to investigate Shulei's sacking. The JSC made it clear that it would not honor summonses by the committee to discuss the decision, citing separation of powers. The Justice and Legal Affairs Committee recommended that the 6 members should be removed from office for incompetence and violating the law. The committee's probe and findings were triggered by a petition filed by Nicholas Riungu Mugambi, who had asked that the 6 be removed from office for violation of the law, gross misconduct in the performance of their functions, and incompetence. This move now puts the fate of the Judicial Service Commission into uncertainty. The commission has 9 members, but now with 6 of the members sent on suspension, it is unclear how this constitutional commission can continue to discharge its duties. Linda Ogutu, Friday Briefing.
So So Linda has just explained what exactly took place today. Let's now take a look at the tribunal members. Who are they? Let's take a look at their profiles. We start with its chairperson, Aaron Ringera. And Aaron holds a master's and bachelor degree in law from the University of Nairobi. He served as director of the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, if you recall. He's also served as a High Court judge and also a Court of Appeal judge. He's also been Solicitor General of Kenya. He is now the chairperson of this tribunal that is now newly created. Let's move on to Jennifer Shamala. She is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, also an expert on human rights, intellectual property and ICT law. Also, Jennifer is a member of the International Federation of Women Lawyers. She is the second person who has been appointed to be part of this tribunal. Let's move on to the third person, Ambrose Otieno Weda. There he is. He's a Kenyan lawyer, studied law at the Kenya School of Law. He's also a senior partner at Weda and Company Advocates. Ambrose has also filed a petition seeking to have key presidential candidates stopped from running in the March 4th general election. He's also authored a book, Making of an Ideal Lawyer. That is Ambrose Otieno Weda. Finally, in that list is Mutua Kilaka. He serves as the financial secretary at the National Treasury. Those are the tribunal members who were selected today by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Let's continue with this conversation. And joining me in studio right now is Elisha Ongoya. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening.
Now, does this appointment come as a surprise?
To an extent, yes, because when you set in place institutional organs and persons who hold senior state offices, you expect a measure of responsibility in the manner in which decisions are taken. There's a context in which the appointment of this tribunal has been done. First, it's important to appreciate that as we speak now, there is a decision, an order of the High Court stopping the National Assembly from handing over or from making these recommendations to the President. In total spite of that order of the High Court, these recommendations were made to the President, meaning that the very foundations of this recommendation, as a matter of law, is questionable. The President then proceeds on those foundations of questionable recommendations to constitute this tribunal. So there are a number of implications that come. First, inevitably, even before decisions are taken, I expect a number of challenges to arise. First is the legality of this tribunal in light of the fact that its basic foundations is prima facie spite of a court order, contempt of a court order. At the second level is the potential grave governance implications of this decision on the judiciary. Under the Constitution, the President had a discretion to suspend these 6 members. Manner in which discretion is exercised must be very responsible. The President has exercised a discretion in a manner that brings to a grinding halt the operations of the Judicial Service Commission, because under the Judicial Service Act of 2011, the quorum of the Judicial Service Commission is 6 members. With 6 members on suspension at the moment, the Judicial Service Commission can no longer discharge its administrative functions, the judiciary, putting the judicial functions in a rather embarrassing position.
Just before we continue, I mean, the judiciary has already refuted, any summons from Parliament. The JSC rather has already refuted this any summons from Parliament. So, I mean, what goes on?
You see, it's debatable. The Judicial Service Commission argues that by virtue of the principle of separation of powers, it could not appear before the Parliamentary Service Commission. I have my own reservations about the legal purity of that argument. But be that as it may, a court of competent jurisdiction, on the other hand, has made an order directing that pending the determination of a dispute that's already pending before court, no further action ought to be taken. Then processes are now being taken in total spite of that order of court. But as a matter of procedure, if you disagree with a court order, the logical thing, the real thing, the only thing you can do as a matter of law is to go back before that same court and ask for a review of that order, or go to a higher court on appeal and ask for a setting aside of that order. It's not to wish away that order, because then that puts the judicial institution's authority into question, which is not good for administration of justice. So that is the beginning point in understanding what is the legal sanctity of this decision to appoint this tribunal.
But Parliament also says that it is indeed independent.
The philosophy that I have adduced, that if you disagree with a court order, the proper remedy is to appeal. Unfortunately, Parliament does not enjoy the same judicial or legal principle as it were. And therefore, if Parliament was dissatisfied with the fact that the Judicial Service Commission members spited it by not appearing before it, and I've said openly myself that I doubt that the doctrine of separation of powers means therefore that the judiciary is that such independent that it cannot be questioned by anybody. That is not the point I'm making. But if Parliament thought that the JSC had spited it, the remedy did not lie in disobeying a court order. The remedy may have lied anywhere else except in disobeying a court order.
All right, we're just about to wind up, but then what are the implications of this? You know, you have 9 in total, 6 have been suspended. You only have 3 who are functional. So what are the implications?
My count actually puts the number to 10 together with the secretary, and 6 have been suspended, leaving a number of 4, and 4 cannot form a quorum for purposes of the JSC's operations. To a large extent, this impairs the capacity of that important organ of the judiciary to discharge its functions, with the possibility of creating a potential crisis in the judicial arm of state. And that's why I began by saying that those whom we vest with responsibility in a state must be very careful in the manner in which they exercise this public trust, because public trust, the discretion vested in the president, cannot be exercisable in a manner that is likely to bring to a grinding halt an entire important arm of government like the judiciary.
Let's move on to the Chief Justice. There is a petition in court to have him removed from office. It was filed by a Dan Alila, an activist. I mean, what are the implications of this tribunal on this petition?
Well, see, the petition is a pending matter before the court. Of course, a court properly directing its mind will have to pronounce itself on a number of matters. Number one, jurisdictional issues. Whether the court has jurisdiction to remove the Chief Justice from office, considering that there is a specific procedure on how to remove the Chief Justice from office. I desire not to make any meaningful comment, any further comments on the merits or demerits of that petition, because the matter pending before court. But that petition exists independent of the decision that the president has taken today to appoint this tribunal and suspend these people. They are not related, it's not one and the same thing. But having said that, it is highly likely that before this tribunal takes off on the substantive task it has been assigned, it will have to face very many procedural hurdles, including a possibility of the challenge in court of its capacity to operate, in light of the fact that the foundations on which it's anchored are themselves apparent contempt of an existing order of court.
All right, Alicia, thank you very much for your time.
Good evening.
Right, now the Editors Guild and Kenya Correspondents Association is now calling for a peaceful protest next Tuesday over the draconian bill passed by Parliament. The journalists' bodies insist that the President's memorandum of the Kenya Information and Communications Amendment Bill may do the media and the country more harm than the original bill passed by Parliament. And as KTN's Catherine Omondi reports, the Media Council has also rejected the President's proposals.
After weeks of lobbying the National Assembly with proposals and sensitizing the public about the ills of the Kenya Information and Communications Amendment Bill of 2013, it seems the efforts have turned into smoke. The President may have rejected the Kenya Information and Communications Bill as it was passed in Parliament, but his proposed amendments have alarmed the media fraternity even more.
He assured not only the Kenyan population, but he assured the entire international community that he will uphold the media freedoms in this country as enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya 2010.
We have had situations in other parts of Africa and the world where journalists rally together, and journalists must realize the power, because if they allow this space to be closed, it will take long to open it.
Media stakeholders wanted any legal issue pertaining the media to be put under the Media Council Bill, vesting the powers of the Media Council and the Media Complaints Commission, and not in the Information and Communication Bill, given the intricacies of the Media Code of Conduct. However, in his recommendations, the President seems to have fortified the Communications and Multimedia Tribunal.
We have been saying that as professionals, me and you, the journalists, why should we have engineers coming in and mail people, courier people, trying to preside over ethical standard and enforcement of professional standards? That job can only be done by a media body or a body constituted by the media professionals.
The Media Council, too, has rejected the President's move. In a statement, the Media Council says, "We are dismayed by the President's attempt to transfer to the executive the illegal control over the media which MPs had given themselves in the returned bill." The Council accuses the President of failing to align the bill to sections 33 and 34 of the Constitution, saying that the recommendations made by the President will yield a media law that is every bit as unconstitutional, draconian and politically repressive as the bill passed by Parliament 3 weeks ago. After President Uhuru Kenyatta rejected the Kenya Information and Communication Amendment Bill of 2013, the National Assembly has two choices. They can either amend the bill according to the President's recommendations, or the second choice, where they gather a 2/3 majority to send the bill as is back to the President. Media practitioners are now contemplating their next course of action as they wait to see how this saga plays out when the National Assembly begins to debate on the President's memo. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
To the ICC now, where experts are weighing the implications of yesterday's resolutions by the Assembly of State Parties. It is now emerging that President Uhuru Kenyatta may still be required to physically attend his trial, despite the amendment on trial via video link. KTN's Edith Kimani has more.
At the session's conclusion, the Kenyan representatives from the Assembly of States Parties had a clear message: victory.
All that we came to achieve at this Assembly of State Parties, we have achieved.
But it is now emerging that the celebrations may have been premature. At least that's what the fine print seems to suggest. The ASP's chairperson text to the amendments shows caveats that may leave both the President and his deputy at the mercy of the court. The amendment to be present through video technology, for example, reads in part that an accused must first submit a written request for a video link, after which the trial chamber shall rule on the request on a case-by-case basis with due regard of the specific hearings.
All rise, vive voulez.
Simply put, the court will have the last word.
The court is an independent judicial institution. So what will happen now is it is absolutely up to the judges to interpret these rules of procedure and to see how they will apply to ongoing cases.
The decision to excuse from trial persons accused will also be left at the discretion of the court. Here, the amendment is clear that such a request can only be granted if exceptional circumstances exist to justify such absence. This too is to be determined by the judges on a case-by-case basis. On whether the accused can be excused due to their extraordinary public duties, the court will in this case determine first if it is in the interest of justice. For President Kenyatta and William Ruto, this could mean going back to the starting line to make applications that stand a chance of being denied.
We are not speaking about two persons here. These rules will apply to everybody.
It is for this precise reason that the United Kingdom has welcomed the new amendments. A statement by Britain's Foreign Office Minister Mark Simmons was clear the UK was keen on the changes, as decisions on when to use these rules will be made independently by the court. Members of the delegation representing Kenya are, however, choosing to focus on the small and as yet only victory against the Hague-based court by President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto. Edith Kimani, KTN, Nairobi.
Now, the signals from The Hague may be conflicting, but they all center on just two of the ICC suspects, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. So where does the latest turn of events leave the man who is now seen as a small suspect? Well, radio journalist Joshua Arabsang says he is unperturbed by the seeming excitement around his fellow suspects. He told KTN's North Rift reporter Masi Kandie that his only concern remains to clear his name.
Joshua Arabsang taps his feet to the beat of the music, the first ever public function he is attending after the International Criminal Court's adjournment of the Kenyan cases at The Hague. The distance between him and the other two ICC suspects, President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto, is clear. There has been intense lobbying and diplomatic standoffs as Kenya tried to exempt its two leaders from attending trials in The Hague.
When everybody or all the attention goes to the president, deputy president, I do understand, because for sure these are people who have a greater responsibility for this country than I.
And as the attention of the world and the country is focused on the two principals, the former radio journalist has found himself in the inevitable position of the forgotten suspect.
So definitely, as much as we are equal in terms of being accused as accused persons, but they carry some responsibility. And so I don't feel left out, because that is how it happens.
Just this week, Kenya's apparent victory at the Assembly of States Parties meeting on ICC caught the attention of the world, but hardly got Sang's name onto people's lips.
Everything that we sought to achieve, we have achieved. We've achieved the amendment to Article 134 to ensure that the President and the Deputy President can be represented by Council.
Joshua Arabsang says the opportunity to attend the Hague proceedings via video link is good enough to enable him spend time with his young family. Whether he is granted that or not, Sang says he remains confident.
I'm happy to be home. I'm in Eldoret. Tomorrow I'll go to Kitale, my home, and shell my maize, wait for the new year and go back. I believe, as I said, by March, God willing, things will be settled.
As he attends the Joyful Women Group Thanksgiving celebrations in Eldoret, a women empowering group whose patron is the Deputy President's wife, Rachel Ruto, Sang maintains that his friendship with the President and his deputy is strong. And at several intervals, he gets the attention and some prayers. This, he says, is what encourages him. Masi Kandie, KTN, Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County.
Now, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights has reignited the debate on the rights of homosexuals in Kenya. In a raft of recommendations in an assessment report on human rights in Kenya, the Commission says that the state should decriminalize same-sex activity and protect the rights of lesbians and gays. On torture, KNHCR decries the continuing torture and disappearing of suspects and prisoners and recommends that the government should pass a law to make torture a criminal offense. On children's rights, the Commission wants the state to urgently address trafficking and exploitation of children and young women. KNCHR also proposes that the government pays advocates fees for all convicts facing the death penalty and set a maximum limit for life sentences. But as KTN's Wilson Buru reports, the most controversial recommendations appear to be those touching on sexuality.
For the last few years, Audrey Mbogwa has been fighting to be recognized as a woman, having grown up as a man named Andrew. But now, the new report by the State Human Rights Watchdog is calling on the government to give people like Audrey a chance. But perhaps the most controversial recommendation appears to that touching on homosexuality. The KNCHR report recommends that the government should repeal all laws which criminalize sexual activity between consenting adults and decriminalize homosexuality, a view that is just as controversial on the streets.
Oh, no. The government should not at all recognize that. That is very wrong. Every society should not just accept that, because actually, okay, how do you give birth with the same gender?
Biologically, what will change? So ukipata mtu mefika situation as he can no longer deal with females. He has no options.
I don't think the state should recognize gayism, because even in religions, not specific religions, but all religions, it's not allowed.
Yeah, I think they should be recognized, and they should be part of the budget. Yeah, they're human like us. They have rights, I mean.
The Human Rights Commission, however, admits that the journey towards recognition of same-sex unions in Kenya still has a very long way to go.
We also saw progress with regard to the state, particularly the police, actually responding to incidences of discrimination and violence against gay men in Nairobi.
Audrey is pushing for an official name change in her examination documents. This commission says such demands should also be granted for persons who have undergone sex change or possess both genders. The report by KNCHR is an assessment by stakeholders of government's performance in implementing its human rights obligations. Western countries like the US and Britain have been pressuring Kenya to recognize the rights of gay people, even going a step further and legalizing same-sex marriages. But with the African culture abhorring such practices, it may take a while before the gay and lesbian community in this country enjoys such freedoms. Wilson Buru, KTN, Nairobi.
The Big Q in association with Kenya Power.
So you've heard what a number of Kenyans have to say about that particular debate, but we'd like to hear from you too. And we're asking tonight on our BQ, do you support the proposal to recognize same-sex unions in Kenya? Do you support the proposal to recognize same-sex unions in Kenya? We'd like to hear from you. The number is 22155. We'll begin with a yes or no and a short comment. You can also tweet me at Betty Kyalo or at KTN Kenya, and we'll be glad to share your views.
Right at your fingertips. Dial *551# Kenya Power.
Moving on, the Central Governing Council of the Union of Kenya's Civil Servants has proposed proposals to sack junior staff as well as freeze employment. The union says plans to lay off low-cadre staff are ill-advised, since it is the senior civil servants who consume the lion's share of the government's wage bill. Here are the details.
Solidarity forever. For the union makes us.
The top organ of the Union of Kenya Civil Servants was quick to respond to reports that plans were underway to sack public service workers, freeze new recruitments and suspend adjustment of salaries.
The government is simply trying to block the payment of partnership allowance to civil servants, the payment of house allowance to civil servants, and adjustment of salaries, which currently the government is paying below minimum wage.
The union argues the civil service is understaffed by 44%. The union says civil service employment data shows there are 172,500 vacant posts and 218,394 in post. The unionists say the intention to maintain employment freeze is defeatist, since only about 30% of the civil servants are aged between 18 to 35 years.
Around 10,000 civil servants will go home automatically, whether we like it or not, on retirement and deaths. So why, again, target the same population with retrenchment when counties are given privileges to adjust and employ their own people?
In the 1990s through to the year 2000, the government implemented structural adjustment programs proposed by the World Bank and IMF through civil service reform. This included retrenchments and job freeze as a way of managing the wage bill. It was then recommended that 16,000 civil servants be sacked each year in the 1990s, while new hires was restricted to a maximum of 3,000. The figures were to shoot up to 20,000 in the following decade. Sacked staff or those opting for early retirement were given severance pay and a golden handshake respectively. And now, a report by the Parliamentary Budget Office recommends sacking of low-cadre civil servants and pushing out those over 50 years, estimated to number over 200,000. Curiously, figures released by the Salaries Commission indicate current annual public wage bill of state officers, who number 3,900 and constitute only 3% of the civil service, is estimated at 13.7 billion shillings.
You'll find the salary of 1,000 subordinate staffs is earned by one senior government officer. Let the government come out very clearly. Let them not hide. they analyze the wage bill and let Kenyans know exactly the so-called wage bill. How many people are carrying this money to their houses? Is it the junior they're talking about, or the same senior people who are crucifying the junior for their survival?
The issue of managing the rising government wage bill is a sensitive matter. In the 90s, the Bretton Woods institutions advised the Moi administration to freeze employment. And faced with the rising pension bill, the Kibaki administration decided to increase the retirement age for civil servants to 60 years. Now, the Uhuru administration is toying with the idea of freezing employment. Patrick Amimo, KTN, Nairobi.
Tumia tu kitu saizi kwa simu.
Kitu gani?
M-Pesa kadogo.
Eric, so do you find other comedians funny?
Yeah.
Do you laugh at other people's jokes?
I laugh a lot at other people's jokes. I even laugh at my own jokes.
Yeah. I have one.
Yes?
I'm not sure if... Yeah. Actually, please laugh. Okay, so this is how it goes. Why did the cow cross the road? You don't know?
That is not a joke.
It wanted to get to the other side.
Isn't joke za wazungu?
But other cows, see, these are things we know.
Kuna watu wajelewa? Other cows. Other.
Are you ever serious? That's one question that so many people wanted me to ask you.
Yes.
Unakwanga serious ama tu, if you go on a date, if you're like at a funeral, do people take you seriously?
I'm serious many of the times, yeah, but people don't take me seriously. When I say something serious, hata nikwambia nyoka, nasema that's why, but sijaoa mpaka wa leo, nikikatia dem, you're funny. Kila niko serious, natupa mamistari hapa anacheka, badala ya kublush anacheka.
So that's I think you've said something that many Kenyan women have heard.
Yes.
So you're not dating?
I'm not dating.
And you're not married?
Imagine, because nobody takes me serious, and I'm very serious by the.
So you're an eligible bachelor.
Hallelujah.
So people should send in their CVs.
Hiyo namba inapita hapo chini, namba yangu tafadhali nipigie.
Hapana, kwanza wanipigie. What is your ideal kind of woman? Because you're skinny, na najua unatry kunona, you've been trying to just get fat for the longest time.
Yeah, people ask Eric Omondi, utanona lini?
Utanona lini?
The question should be utaoa lini? Juu nikishaoa nitanona.
So unataka msichana na kaje? Mkonde kama wewe?
Mkonde kama wewe hapana.
Kavi kama mtu fulani?
Yes. Yeah. You know, diaspora. Diaspora. Yeah.
Okay, so I want us to continue with this interview. Lakini first, tukusome hiyo intro.
Okay.
Na please usitu enjoy. We are very serious people. So are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Go and then introduce yourself.
Hi, welcome to KTN Prime. This is the Friday briefing. I'm Eric Omondi. A Malindi man has been sentenced to a 10-year term in prison for defiling a goat. Interestingly, during the sentencing, the goat that was defiled was present in the courtroom as her assailant confessed to the beastly act. As KTN's Najma Ismail reports, this record sentencing for the rare crime has set tongues wagging in that coastal city.
It is in rare occasions that an animal is presented in court as evidence to a case. But in Malindi, a she-goat, the said victim of bestiality, was present, watching quietly as her alleged assailant was sentenced. Kithao Gona, a middle-aged man, got 10 years behind bars to ruminate on the sins which he admitted committing with the she-goat. Members of the public inside the courtroom were shocked when the accused made the confession. But what surprised them more was the sentence slapped on the accused by the Malindi resident magistrate Mudhoni Nzibe. 10 years for bestiality was a new record in this Malindi courtroom. The accused had been charged that he had carnal knowledge of the she-goat on Monday this week at Dabaso village in Gede location. The prosecution told the court that Kitsao was caught in the act by a man who was passing by the bush where the incident was taking place. In mitigation, the accused pleaded for pardon, saying he had a disabled wife who depended on him, but the magistrate insisted the offense was serious. He has been given 14 days to appeal.
Eric, what do you think of that story? It's not funny. That goat was...
It's mimi nimezoea mbuzi fry ama choma. Sasa hii ni story gani? If the goat was present in the court during sentencing,
Yes.
why was the goat present?
Because it was there to...
Why was it present? Was it a witness? I'm sure huyu mtu aliulizwa, do you plead guilty or not? Akasema not guilty. Hiyo mbuzi kafanya meh. But I think, what do you think that said it to the court? Alisema, mimi shida yangu, hii mbuzi kila siku ikipita kwangu yaniangalia mimi na macho ya tamaa. Mbuzi yenyewe amepita hapo, anakuja kwangu asubuhi, jioni apita, amfinya macho. Mbuzi amfinya mimi macho. Mbuzi anipenda. Mimi mbuzi nitongozwa na mbuzi.
Mbuzi limtongoza? You had something to
Yeah, just a little weather. Ladies and gentlemen, just the weather forecast for basically next week. We have the clouds. These clouds left Mombasa last week. They moved slowly past Voi. It rained in Voi. The clouds, we had some showers because of the clouds. The clouds moved, as you can see, these dark areas, Cumberland. These dark areas are also they're from southern Sudan. Something interesting is that when the clouds got to Kitui, and Machakos, they stood still for a number of hours, around 6 to 7 hours. Nothing happened in Kitui or Machakos. The clouds did not give them anything. The cloud moved to Kaponzweni. Nothing still happened. Basically, the whole of Eastern Province, the clouds did not do anything. But this is what happened in that is the sun. That's the sun. We had the sun in most parts of Kitui, even during the night. And basically, that's the weather forecast for today, especially for Eastern Province. Asante sana. Yeah.
Eric, do you have anything against people from Eastern Province? We'll sit there.
Kwa nini uko kwenye shangi?
Machakos, you know we are coming, so please.
Yeah, but the machohood.
Yeah?
It's crazy, man. It's
okay,
crazy.
so right now, how do you come up with your skits and jokes? Do you, because you always just make fun of people and make fun of yourself?
All right, I observe a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I listen a lot. Yeah, like there's this guy who comes to the Friday brief. He's called Willis.
Willis, yeah, he's
from
just
Kisumu.
Yeah, he's just about to join us.
The guy who teaches us how to pronounce.
Yeah.
It is not Mercedes. It is not Mercedes. It is Mercedes. Mercedes. It is not Range Rover Sport. It's not Range Rover Sport.
It's actually Mercedes.
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 Yeah. It is not dollars. It is dollars. So I observe a lot, yeah? You have to be observant, you have to be keen, you have to listen to conversations when you're eating at the hotel, when you're walking, you have to watch people's mannerisms, behaviors. You see, people will only laugh when you talk about them and about the things they do. Jokes or comedy is not about being a genius per se, just about taking what Betty Kyalo says or how she anchors and redoing it, just exaggerating a little bit. Then it's funny because people love to laugh at themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're not a comedian, what would you be?
If I was not a comedian, I would have. But I wanted to be an anchor.
Come on, Eric. Really,
It's
with
for
that
it.
hair, you
For
think?
I even did a story once, but it didn't go there.
Yeah, with that hair, I don't think.
Yeah.
Is it a wig?
It's a wig. It's a wig. It's.
You can actually remove it.
Yeah, I wanted to be a lawyer in lower primary. Then I changed my mind. Upper primary, I wanted to be a doctor. Then from one day, I wanted to be a pastor. So
kupanda mbegu.
Yeah, kupanda mbegu.
Okay.
Huyo mama wanitizama hapo Nakuru. Na kutizama mama.
Okay.
Mama huko na sufuria 3. Tafuta sufuria 4. Ndio Mungu akupatie nyama. But I'm a preacher. Nobody knows, yeah? But I'm also a born-again Christian. So at one point I wanted to be a pastor.
Yeah.
But hey.
Then you went to Daystar and took 7 years to...
I went to Daystar.
Finish a degree.
I took 7 years instead of 3.5 years for very many reasons. I took Wadanda. But
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. I was within Daystar. It took me 7 years, but God is good. Right. I cleared and... So I'm here today.
Okay. So now we want you to introduce the business anchor.
Okay.
You remember the name? Joy Doreen.
Oh, Joy Doreen.
So come to.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm introducing Joy, the business. How about you, Joy?
Thanks a lot, Eric. Eric, one question for you. Do you sleepwalk, sleep talk, you know?
Come again?
Do you sleepwalk or sleep talk?
Yes, I do.
How often? And what do you sleep? Do you even remember?
Do I? Come again.
When you sleepwalk or sleep talk?
I do remember when I sleepwalk and when I sleep talk.
Okay, like when was
because
the
I'm
last?
Always awake.
When was the last time you did that?
That must have been last night.
Where did you walk to?
My landlord's door. I knocked his door and talked to him in my sleep.
All right, Eric. All right. Thank you so much.
Right.
Well, Eric Omondi there doing very perfectly as a guest anchor, but we've got lots for you in business, including the fact that inflation rates have dropped. This and more coming up after these messages. 2% due to cheaper petrol and diesel prices compared to the previous months. The food and non-alcoholic beverages index aged up by 0.40%, being a net effect of increase in prices of some food items, outweighing falls in prices of others. Housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuel index increased by 0.52% in the period under review. The government plans to amend the Kenya Information and Communications Act, especially on areas touching on SIM card registration. Among the proposals, there is in the clause banning hawking of SIM cards in the country. Now, this would be quite very serious. Adelaide Changole puts this into perspective.
Soon after the Westgate terror attack on the 21st of September, investigations found that the terrorists had used unregistered SIM cards during the siege. Since then, the government has moved in to tighten rules and regulations around SIM card registration. To achieve this, the state, through the ICT Ministry, is seeking to amend the Kenya Information and Communications Act. Key to these amendments is the proposed ban on the sale of SIM cards by vendors, a thriving business in Kenya today.
It's a very good idea because it reduces the use of M-Pesa.
But SIM card vendors have come out to reject the proposals, saying they are unfair and unwarranted.
In their
defense, some of the vendors attribute the growth of Kenya's over 30 million mobile phone subscribers to their presence in the streets.
Dealers are allowed maybe 10 and we are more than hundreds.
SIM card registration in Kenya became law in 2011 as part of government's efforts to curb the growing threats of terrorism. However, subscribers and operators until 3 months ago did not adhere to this regulation.
Nimenunua nao mahokas na nikaregister nao na zinafanya kazi. Sijawahi itwa criminal in any way.
Serikali ingefuata wale wanawapea kwanza ndio amkubalishe.
The amendments are currently a subject of public consultations with the Communications Commission of Kenya. The government is towing a fine line with its plan to limit SIM card registration only to registered agents, because while the plan might actually increase security in the sector, it might limit the growth and development of mobile phone technology in the country. Adelaide Changole, KTN Business.
Thanks, Adelaide. Mombasa will host the 2015 SCALP Congress, the largest convention of travel and tourism organization. This adds to the impetus in prepping up destination Mombasa as a jewel in the African tourism circuit. Ferdinand Omondi has the details.
It was a proud moment for Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho as he received the flag which symbolizes Kenya's winning bid to host the 2015 World SCALP Congress. Kenya beat 5 other countries in the preliminaries to host the coveted conference.
There was Argentina and Brazil, combined one bid. There was Turkey, there was Norway, there was Italy, and then there was Kenya.
More significant was the fact that Kenya won the bid in the elections conducted immediately after the Nairobi Westgate terror attack. The Mombasa governor termed the win as a major endorsement of Mombasa as the preferred tourist destination.
We must say, and we have said, that we shall defeat the terrorists and we shall continue to live our lives. We shall continue to celebrate our lives. We shall not give in to the terror threat.
The conference will bring over 2,000 delegates from across the globe for 7 nights to sample Mombasa's beauty and hospitality.
We will do it, and I'm sure
Madam Julie, Mombasa is the right place, and the Congress is going to be a remembrance for colleagues for lifetime.
The county boss pledged to work closely with tourism stakeholders to create a vibrant tourism sector and said his government was working towards decongesting traffic flow to and from Mombasa. SCAL International is the world's largest travel and tourism organization with over 17,000 senior travel and tourism executives. Eric Omondi, KTN, Mombasa.
Now let's take a look at how the Kenya shilling did perform and look at the forex rates as well.
The financial report in association with Total. At Total, we provide high-quality fuels to all our customers, even the most demanding ones. Total, you know where to turn. Financial report in association with Total. At Total, we provide high-quality fuels to all our customers, even the most demanding ones. Total, you know where to turn.
And well, that's it that we had for you in this edition of KTN Business on the Friday briefing. Now I hand you back to Betty Kyalo, who is still in studio with Eric Omondi. Betty.
Thank you very much, Joy, for that report. Now, you are watching KTN Friday Briefing, and this is a recap of the top story we are covering for you tonight. President Uhuru Kenyatta has, in the last few hours, formed a tribunal to probe the conduct of 6 members of the Judicial Service Commission. The Gazette notice announced the immediate suspension of the 6, Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, Dr. Samuel Kobia, Professor Christine Mango, Justice Mohammed Warsame, Emilio Minde, and Florence Mwangangi. The 4-member tribunal will be chaired by former anti-corruption chief retired Justice Aaron Ringera. Other members include High Court advocates Ambrose Weda and Jennifer Shamala, as well as Treasury Secretary Mutua Kilaka. Analysts say the move will cripple the 9-member Judicial Service Commission chaired by Chief Justice Dr. William Mutunga. So it's time for Mind Your Language with the Walking Dictionary. Willis, the word master, coming to us live from Kisumu County. Willis, great to see you tonight.
Great to see you, Betty. How is the capital city?
Well, the capital is very cold, but in studio we're all hot and warm. Tonight, let's begin with matters education. Do we say geography, or geography, as some former ministers used to say?
We can say geography if we have what we call mother tongue or first language influence. But the correct pronunciation for that word is geography. Geography. Okay. Just like we say geology, geometry, geothermal.
All right, so geography, not geography or geography, geothermal geography. Great. Now, moving on, what do you call that room where you have scientific experiments being done by students, scientists?
I know you're talking about what is locally mispronounced as laboratory, but that is wrong. We say laboratory. Just like we say preparatory, or oratory. So the word is laboratory.
All right, interesting. Now, what do you call that name or word referring to a deadlock or stalemate? Is it impasse or impasse? That one gives journalists some difficulty.
That is a very tricky word, Betty, and the correct pronunciation for that word is impasse. Impasse. Impasse, not impasse.
Totally different from what I was expecting. Impasse, not impasse. All right. Do we say data or data?
For that word, Betty, we have two acceptable pronunciations. We can say data, and we can also say data with a long vowel R. Data or data.
Data. All right. What about this one? Itinerary or itinerary?
We have a vowel glide. Itinerary, not itinerary. Just like we also say itinerant, not itinerant.
All right. Now, before we get to our feedback, do you have a surprise word for tonight, for Mind Your Language tonight?
Something like spinach?
Yeah, something like spinach or lettuce, something. Tortoise.
A surprise.
Yeah.
Well, we say PhD. PhD. We don't say PhD the way people find themselves saying. We also say HIV. HIV, not H. No puffing of that letter H, because the name is H or H, but the sound is ha. But that puffing ha is not used when we have an abbreviation.
All right, so for hen, it's hen, not HN.
We say hen, hospital, house. But in abbreviations or when mentioning the name of that letter, we say H.
All right. Now, this other word, do we say behind or behind? There are a couple of interesting pronunciations of that word.
I do hear that a lot. Behind, behave, behest, and all that.
Yeah.
Those are pronunciations which I believe are influenced by the Australian accent or the American way of saying some of those words. They sound stylish, but when we talk about the English pronunciation, Betty, we say behind, behalf, behave, behest, not ba.
All right.
Not ba.
Okay. Virginia Karaoke tweeted and asked the pronunciation of R-A-N. R-A-N.
The past tense of R-U-N?
Yes.
Yes, we say run. Many people say rain, the way Americans, Australians, and other regional varieties have it. But when we talk about RP, this is received pronunciation. The standard form of British pronunciation, which is based on educated speeches or speech, we say run, bun, can, fun, van, not van, fen, ken, ben, no. Run.
All right, so we do not say ran like I ran yesterday is I ran yesterday. So it sounds a bit wrong, but that's the correct pronunciation.
When you talk about the British English pronunciation or RP, received pronunciation.
All right, Willis. Finally, future DJ would like to know how we pronounce the word determine or determine.
There is no diphthong, that is dual vowel glide at the terminal or the ending of that word. We say determine, determine, a short vowel E, determine. Just like we say examine, not examine.
All right, Willis, that wraps up Mind Your Language tonight. Thank you very much, and see you next week.
See you next week, Betty, and have a nice weekend.
Double Olympic and World 3,000 meters steeplechase champion Ezekiel Kemboi and 2013 surprise World 800 meters gold medalist Eunice Soum were crowned the 2013 Athletics Kenya Male and Female Athletes of the Year. The two were feted in a gala themed Our Country, Our Champions. The gala was held for the first time in Eldoret, the city of champions. Eldoret, the country's city of champions, was honored to be selected to host the annual athletics gala on Thursday night. The gala closed the chapter of a packed season whose climax was the three-day athletics symposium. Athletes were recognized for their efforts during the 2013 season. World Marathon record holder Wilson Kipsang and World Marathon champion Edna Kiplagat were honored in the marathon category. World Championships javelin finalist Julius Yago won the field event award, while Mirka Chamos, Asbel Kiprop and youngster Conseslus Kipruto also bagged awards for shining in their respective disciplines. Four-time steeplechase champion Ezekiel Kemboi and Moscow 800 meters gold medalist Eunice Soum were named the overall athletes of the year due to their outstanding performances at the World Athletics Championships in Moscow in August.
I think I've represented Kenya for the last 13 good years. So I'm very much grateful to have been in the team for the last 13 years.
Elsewhere, the Sports Stadium Management Board, SSMB, has awarded Safaricom the naming rights for the main stadium and indoor arena with Moi International Sports Complex, Kasarani, in a 2-year deal worth more than Kenya shillings 55 million. The stadium will now be called the Safaricom Stadium Kasarani, Home of Heroes, while the gymnasium acquires the name Safaricom Indoor Arena. The contract allows Safaricom to refurbish the dressing rooms, some corporate suites and other signage. A similar deal 5 years ago involving Coca-Cola and the Nyayo National Stadium received resistance.